Alright guys, Lqgend again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far, 5 teams will be eliminated from Major 1 today, and there could be some serious surprises on the cards based on some of the results that we saw yesterday. FaZe find themselves under serious pressure from the community in general after losing in the fashion they did to G2. Can they turn it around? Because arguably that team has regressed a few weeks in terms of their performance. Yesterday, a disastrous outcome, but certainly not the end of their tournament quite as yet. The bracket is still particularly interesting in the winners and the losers side. Plenty to get into. Very much to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Employee of the month for the Burger King. We'll get back to that in a second. Firstly, multiplayer maps. Season 2 launch revealed yesterday. This is what we're looking at. So we got some new maps coming in, some maps that we expected and some other ones that we necessarily did not. This is Torment. A little confused what the hell is going on the minimap here. Looks like there's 2 different sections. I can't imagine that's going to be especially viable. Maybe the pros won't play it anyway. This, at first glance, you're going to say, well, that's Den, right? But no, it's not. This is Saki, a new map, set in Japan, of course, again, at, well, anyway, different setup, different venue, but similar kind of aesthetic. It's got that gridlock vibe going on again. This maybe could work in the same way that Den, but also, can we really have Den and this map in the pool at the same time? They look the same. Maybe they're not exactly the same. They probably won't play the same. That might not be a big deal. If it's a good map, you put it in. I guess that's fair enough, but something to think about anyway. There's this Nexus map, but that's a 2v2 kind of skirmish type thing going on. Slums is back again. I mean, I'm not really going to complain. Slums is a solid map from Black Ops 2. It was played competitively back then. It's been brought back numerous times. Hasn't really been played again properly competitively since then. Good search or good CTF map, I was going to say, back in the day. Don't know how it might work for Overload. I don't think we're going to be seeing Slums in play. The map that we could see is, well, actually, there's this Talk map. It's considered small size, brand new 6v6. When I first saw this, my immediate thought was Aftermath, right, from Black Ops 2. And actually, it is related because they describe how this does recall that Battle of Los Angeles way back in BO2. So this is kind of Aftermath, really, from that game, but clearly not designed in the same way. We do, however, have another map, which is a proper remaster. That is Clifftown, although, well, they're not calling it Yemen. So this used to be Yemen in BO2, and we've kind of known for some time this map was going to return. As far as I can tell, looking at the pictures, it looks roughly the same. I don't really know if they've changed much. It does, you know, aesthetically it is slightly different. Probably some of the features are slightly different. So it's not like a pure remaster that we've seen elsewhere where it's literally identical. But this is the same map, and you know, you can see the treehouse section, you can see the run down to mid, and all of that. So yeah, Yemen was played in BO2, legendary BO2 map in some respects. It is one of those hardpoint maps back in the day that played incredibly traditionally, I guess you would say. We've seen, I think the OpTic guys, didn't they play the Dynasty or whatever, one of those throwbacks on Yemen hardpoint and got near enough 10-point clubs. And it shouldn't be much of a surprise. This is, in terms of rotate early and hold, which we don't really play much of that Call of Duty nowadays. Nowadays, it's you play some of the more bang-out maps. There aren't too many maps where heavy rotations are really required. We know that Fringe is even in the game, but the pros would probably say, well, rotating to grannies, it's an easy 60 hold. But it's like, yeah, that's kind of the point, right? Like, sometimes back in the day on Fringe, you would rotate at like 35, 40 seconds because you'd give up 40 seconds on P2 to try and get 60 back on grannies. That was part of the strategy. And Yemen, oh my god, is it like that? I mean, all of the hills are difficult to break. The Church Hill, the Back Market Hill. It would be a very different gameplay to watch playing hardpoint on this map than the others. And I think that would be very interesting. And it would mean that the teams have to be very well-rounded because there's not just one way to play hardpoint depending on the way the maps are designed. But anyway, we'll see how Clifftown plays. Maybe they're not calling it Yemen for, I don't know, political reasons or something. But yeah, anyway, this is the overall Call of Duty roadmap going forwards. There's also another quick thing. Competitive integrity and ranked play, of course, Havoc's looking forward to that arriving. Crimson and above, you can only form 1 to 2 player parties, so you can't just have a full stack at certain ranks, and Havoc thinks that's a pretty damn good thing. But let's talk about what happened at the Major yesterday and what could well happen again today. These were the pick'em predictions, who's going to win the tournament going in. Of course, well, these won't have changed precisely because the same amount of people voted, and these aren't exactly the precise odds, but it gives you an idea. People considered Paris to be the favourites. Now, maybe not a surprise. Gentlemates are not to get the most fans. They get the most votes in this poll. Shock, right? But FaZe were third at 25%. We actually discussed this briefly on the pre-show yesterday. I was thinking FaZe and Paris probably sitting at about 25%. OpTic certainly a bit further behind than that, but of course there's plenty of OpTic fans, so it makes sense they would get picked. And also some confidence that OpTic Online was going to be a different story to turning up to LAN, and that seems to have been proven true so far. Thieves, those are the clear top four. Then it drops down substantially. Ravens, Falcons, Toronto, G2 at 0.4. That seems like pretty decent going as it stands, but time will tell. Surge at a fat 0. Cloud9 at a 0.1. So, you know, who knows? Maybe there's still a chance for those guys to make a run through losers. Now, FaZe were getting cooked bad for their result yesterday, and understandably right. Drazah, he did this tweet. Again, Crimp and Draz, they're pretty good friends, so this was kind of some measured little trash talk. But Drazah says, Crimp round 1 on LAN? Yes, let's go. And Crimp's now thinking, well, damn, Drazah round 1 on LAN? 3-0'd when it mattered, ... You know the rest. Bean says, don't tell you that last time he double birded me. Too late, who's loses round 1? Well, FaZe were about to find out today. Crimp was talking all kinds of trash, very entertaining character, and again, the way that they won that final map, coming back 4-1, coming back 5-2 to run 5 straight. Again, pretty unforgivable loss. I'm not saying that I love parking the bus, but you can see why it can be a viable strategy if you take a serious lead. But no, G2 bring it back. Mamba and the boys bring in the energy. Sky's played real well. And of course, on the FaZe side of the story, it was like, well, damn, Simp's cooking. But who else, right? Where's the help? And there was a question online a few weeks ago when Simp would drop 1.1s, 1.2s, and then it's like, okay, where's the AR presence, right? Where is that? And it wasn't there for Drazah and Abuzah. And as a result, again, I'm not saying Lurqxx was like on fire at that pre-LAN the other day, or even if the visa situation is sorted, but all of a sudden, there's talk about FaZe again, because, yeah, their online conclusion was strong, but here they go turning up to LAN, they've got 0-3. I mean, how many times did FaZe get 3-0'd as Atlanta FaZe? I mean, I don't know the number, but it was not many, right? Like, they got 3-0'd maybe a handful of times a year, right? So a result like this, certainly not Simp would have been hoping for. Drazah actually did respond and say, GG's G2, lost 0-3, long tournament ahead, we're going to make the run. So, look, Brian Saint tweeted about the Ravens and said, look, confident we can make the losers run. Boston are going to receive FaZe in the losers bracket. We'll discuss that in a second. The other kind of remarkable story here is that Mamba might be the CEO of FaZe, because Mamba's now beat them online, he's beat them here on LAN, and of course, very famously, knocked them out of the World Cup last year to end their tenure, right? Like, that was when they decided to blow it up after Omid knocked them out of the World Cup and took them down. Mamba was part of that team. Now he's beating them again. So this guy can't be stopped, it seems, with the cowboy boots on. Actually, Brian Satz has a tweet about it. He looks like his Simp's hard counter. Eliminated them for the World Cup. Beat them in the qualifiers. Beat them in the major. Only the 8th time that Simp has lost winners round 1 in 44 tournaments. So, yeah, well, that did happen yesterday. Of course, aBeZy had a pretty damn good series with the Thieves. They took the win. JoeDeceives even says Benjo just broke his monitor watching aBeZy just do it all in that search and destroy. Even aBeZy tweets and says, we're just insane, no more smiling and laughing, right? So he says, look, strictly business from here on out. The smiling and laughing is restricted to online play only. And, well, if Thieves played how they did yesterday, they will be a serious threat. You could say that OpTic's win and Thieves' win was at least in part determined by the fumbling of their opposition. Here's Exceed with the photoshopped A's hat. Of course, a little nod there to Slasher, who I'm sure slept pretty well last night. I'm sure that Slasher had a pretty good night after all that he was talking about. He was like, look, Exceed and the team, sure, online is one thing, but let's see it on LAN, then we can judge that team properly. Look, maybe they can make a loser's run, but certainly they're not going any further in the winners bracket. But a couple of clips here to share. The flank attack was especially talking about FaZe, how concerning this type of result should be for their team, especially because even if they can turn it around, they've clearly still got a series like this in the locker where everyone but Simp gets fried.
Look! He's popping it up a deck! He's popping up a deckies! Look! Someone get the rule book out! This cannot be allowed!
Yeah,
Cannot be allowed in professional play! There's something in them. There's something in them. I found it out.
No, Trav's ripping off her deckies, dude.
Bro, what are you doing? You're the GM.
Oh, that's
You're
fucking
trying-
awesome, dude. That's fucking awesome.
What are you doing?
I love that.
I think it all really
Just a
depends
little
on,
upper decky, chat. Nothing wrong with
I
that.
think
Keep
the
them
players are necessarily like. I feel like it's more the way they're trying to go about the game. That's the problem. in my opinion. But like, are the players the reason why they don't want to play? Like to me, the speed is just everything in this game. Like same thing last year.
The community doubted this team early on and questioned some of the players. How high do you think the squad ceiling is?
I mean, I think we're probably the best team in the game at our best. You know, I think we have four players that play the best in their roles. So, you know, when we're playing at firing all cylinders, we're slamming.
I mean, the worrisome thing for FaZe is they look like the FaZe right before the break. Simp doing his thing, fine. Everyone else getting absolutely shit on. The ARs had a terrible map 1. The map 1 and 2 were just so bad. Simp was the only one getting kills. Map 3, it's like, oh shit, okay, FaZe woke up. They're back. Drazah's getting kills again. They're up 5-2. And then boom, Mamba spawns in, fucking shits on them. They go on a rally, take the lead at the very end of the game and win. But that's just really scary if you're FaZe. Like, if you can't have a consistent AR slaying, that's going to be an issue, and that everyone's going to keep calling for FaZe at Lurqxx because they need someone to help Simp. Like, you can't just rely on one player on the team to carry you through everything. We're seeing it with Toronto, too, with Joe. If Joe doesn't fry, they don't win. With FaZe, if Simp doesn't fry, odds are they're not going to win. And this was just a...
So this is the way the bracket looks after the first day. We've got Neptune ripping the Zins. He plays Thieves tomorrow, right? So you know how these tournaments work. If you win your Thursday game, you don't have to play Friday. And then if you win on Saturday, you go straight through to Sunday, right? So, you know, it is what it is. That's just how the format works. However, the teams and losers, they will play a lot more matches. Toronto Heretics is the elimination round 1 game right at the top of the bracket. That's a banger, right? Because we know that there's a lot of history between those two organizations, especially because ReeaL had a rough series yesterday. It doesn't seem like him joining Toronto has been a slam dunk success. In fact, you know, he went for Toronto presumably for more money, first of all, we think. But also, you know, he broke the verbal agreement, as Heretics kept talking about, in order to go there, presumably with the expectation that, like, look, they'll be better than Heretics would be. But right now, that's not clear at all. Heretics and Toronto are actually pretty similar in their online stints. But Koi snuck into the winners brackets, but lost anyway, and Heretics start and loses. So we get the fantastic matchup between those two teams. Very excited to see how that one goes. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of eyeballs on that series. And if Heretics win, wow, there will be some chaos hitting the stage, I'm sure. Ravens then play Surge. So Surge, they avoid the Thieves bang out, but they do have to play the Ravens. Again, not great on paper for Surge anyway. They are 4 in 20 map counts here in this stage. If they lose, they drop the Zoomer, obviously, if they lose 3-0. Ravens could do that. Can they bounce back? I think they can. I think Ravens should take the win. Then FaZe Boston. Can Boston pull an upset here, right? It's obviously a tough bracket in theory for Boston. I wouldn't say it's totally impossible. I think it's pretty unlikely. Boston, of course, have done it before when they've taken down Thieves, you know, a couple of times at big tournaments. Could they do so for FaZe? I think Boston are not a team to be totally overlooked and underestimated. They certainly could take this series to 5. And look, if FaZe can get 3'd by G2, they can definitely lose to Boston. I think FaZe, though, should be the favourites. And then Falcons Cloud9. I mean, wow. We'll see what the minimap looks like for Falcons today, because yesterday was not pretty. For Cloud9, I will say, there was a lot of players in this losers bracket probably fighting for their careers today. Like, if Cloud9 hypothetically get bodies, a couple of those guys, we might never see them in the Pro League again, right? So this is, for many of these players, I think, even for Surge, you could argue this is true as well, some of the most important series they will ever play are coming up today. This is the schedule. Ravens play Surge first up, then it's Koi Heretics, then Falcons Cloud9. FaZe Boston is last of those 4 games, saving the potential upset for last. And then they play another losers bracket rounds between the winner of the first couple of series. So there will be another team eliminated before the day is done. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.